I am live. Look at that. We made it. Okay. I hope you guys are all doing well today. It is a negative 11 degrees here in North Idaho. You know it's cold when you go outside and it's cold. That's my logic for this morning. And my deep thought. It's boogie freeze weather. Instant boogie freeze weather. So it's quite cold, needless to say, and it is a beautiful sunny day. I actually love this crisp cold. You don't have to worry about the dampness going through the body. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. It's sunny, it's sparkly. I'm enjoying it greatly. It is negative 11 there also. Yes, I believe it. It is cold. It is cold. It's a bit chilly, huh? It's the kind of weather that the dogs go out and you don't have to turn around away from the door because they come right back to the door and want to come back in. I have to imagine that hurts the pads of their feet quite a bit, that kind of cold. So I know my big dog likes the snow and she likes the cold. But when it's this cold, they don't hesitate. She's right back at the door. I got some good organic coffee going on this morning. So I don't really have a big plan for today's subjects. It has been wild and woolly here. I am schooling, taking 3 classes at one time. I am feeling like an extreme brainiac and also like my brains are being sucked out of my head all at the same time. It's quite an interesting feeling. And it's just been a busy week. So I did a podcast with the Mountain Boy last week. We did a testimonial on Faith-Led Healing podcast, and we did homesteading, off-grid living, homeschooling with a special needs child on the Mountain Woman Radio. However, they have not gone live yet because I have not had time to edit them. So they will be going live. So if you have additional questions for us, you can email your questions by shooting us an email at podcast@faithledhealing.com, and we will get your questions answered, because the next podcasts that go out will be covering the protocols that we utilized for him that helped him to progress, and also my recommendations for those on the spectrum, because I would be doing an extreme injustice if I don't share my knowledge. These are things that can be overcome. The Mountain Boy is like 98.9% completely over being high-functioning autistic. Truly, as we joked about on the podcast, the only thing that's lingering is his literal mind, which really has nothing to do necessarily with being on the spectrum or being diagnosed with high-functioning autism. But it certainly does make for interesting and very fun conversations at the dinner table or while traveling, just because of how he interprets things, which just makes it really fun. So in addition to that, I also did a webinar this week. The topic and the subject was unlocking your body's healing potential. And if you missed that webinar, you can watch the replay by going to faithledhealing.com/webinar. I highly encourage you to check it out. It will be available continuing so that you can watch it at your convenience. But we had a huge response to that and a lot of good stuff going on there. So I really want to encourage you to check that out. I also have a lot of things coming your way, breaking down just varying health, diagnosis, struggles, however you want to look at it, as well as just some of the common things that people deal with and how to combat them. So keeping our pathways open, lymphatic drainage, constipation. We may even dive into some of the struggles that ladies are having as they hit menopause, and it won't be a maybe. We will definitely be hitting that. Perimenopause, menopause, all of those subjects. So you will be finding shorter videos on the Faith-Led Healing YouTube channel, specifically honing in on such things. So I see we have some people on YouTube. Thank you for joining this morning. If you haven't joined our community, please do, faithledhealing.com/community. Good morning, Miss Vicky. I have my special access community in front of me today. And as I said, I don't really have a complete plan for today. I usually don't. Papa just guides me. But today is one of those days where I'm not feeling like I have it all together just because of the pace of the week I've been having. So I'm going to put this out there for you guys this morning. What are some things you guys are wanting to touch on? I wanted to mention that in our Bible study, in our community, like I said, I'm not feeling like I got it all together today. But one of the things we're going to be touching on is spiritual warfare. We will also have a marriage Bible study going on later in the year. So we are hitting on certain subjects I feel that, we can all gain from, and spiritual warfare is one that we are seeing all over the place. We are experiencing that. I've got Miss Laura on YouTube too. I'm not sure who else is on there, so I guess I should maybe, no, I won't. I don't know where my iPad is. So, good morning, Miss Vicky. Yes, I'm too busy, and I'm going to start honing it in and pulling it together because I don't like being a type A any longer. I don't like the pace. So when it gets really wild and woolly and my feet are dangling in a different way besides hanging on to Jesus's robe hem, it all gets honed back in. I don't like that pace. I don't want that pace. That's why I live the life I do. And that is also why I practice what I preach, because I don't want to be chasing things. I want to be chasing where God is taking me. So I did find my iPad. I'm going to get on here because I do believe there's some things going on YouTube, and I want to make sure I'm addressing those as well. And I want to ask you guys this as well. How are you guys doing with your success for the new year? That has been something that has been going very well for me, hence the 3 classes all at once and just the progression. Things are going really, really good. I am on track. I've been teaching a course that will be coming your way very soon, which is Conquering Histamine and Renegade Genes, because I have a lot of people, which is not a surprise, that are coming to me with very similar issues to what I've overcome. And, that being said, I'm very well versed in assisting them, and I am seeing the needs of my community and those that are coming to me. So I'm trying to address those, and also I enjoy teaching in I love one-on-one, but I want to be able to help as many people as I possibly can. So that's why I've been creating the course lineups that I have, so that I can teach at a greater level and be able to educate more people at one time. So, and that is a really great opportunity, and as well as to meet so many more people and get them into the community, because I find that our world is fast-paced. I'm not the only one chasing things right now. I know that there are other people that are racing and chasing and trying to keep up with what life is throwing their way, I guess is the best way to put it. And there's also a lot of people in this world that feel like they are the only one dealing with the things they're dealing with, regardless what they are. We just don't have that community locally that we've always once had. A lot of times neighbors don't know neighbors. So being connected with people, I know my ladies that are sitting right in front of me will definitely agree to this. And that is that when you have a strong community of like-minded people, and for us, Christian people surrounding us, it is a really powerful way to walk out life, because for lack of better terms, your hand is always held. There's always somebody there. And what's really awesome is the people that I have surrounding me, we're all so interconnected. Like, we just have this knowing when someone is in need of something, whether we know specifically what that is, or just that, you know, they might need a text message today. They might need a little extra loving. And also, you know, it's very easy to get caught up in all the drama in our communities, on social media, in the news, and it can be a real downer and really cause a lot of depression. This time of year, you know, a lot of people deal with the seasonal depression to begin with. So, you know, being able to go to a place where you can get that inspiration and encouragement through the different types of posts, just through other people that are walking things out. So, oh, very funny. Vicky says, my daughter-in-law just texted this morning asking on the same topic. How often do we pray the armor of God over us and our family in a day? You know, that's exactly it. And that's so great. So this, I'm seeing exactly where Papa is taking, because that is, it's been one of those weeks where there is just stuff coming at all angles. And I'm going to share very openly what last week looked like for me. And it falls in the same line, and I know Vicky and Laura will know probably where I'm headed with this. I taught a class last week in a friend's community, and I was asked to take it neutral. As you know, I walk around with my faith and my heart on my sleeve because of my experiences, and it has become the basis of not only my life, but my practice. And that means so much to me, because ultimately God diagnosed me. God led me to the doctor that saved my life. She fell off the face of the earth. God guided me to everything I needed to heal myself, and then guided me to what I needed to educate myself to heal others. You know, I can't just walk away from that. I can't just lightly say that's not a part of me. And I found that even though I went neutral, but I also didn't totally cut it, you know, my faith out of the scenario. But I will tell you this, it was really hard, because for those of you that join my breathwork sessions, Miss Vicky specifically has shared that I bathe her with Jesus, and that's why she comes, because I read the word, I read devotionals, I speak life into my people, and I'm led in that platform as well, in that I just have this intuitive nature to know what people need. And I feel very blessed in that regard. And to try to remove that portion of me that is so in the forefront is really, to be honest, impossible. And then I was visiting with a peer for school. We need to buddy up, and I have to do that for 2 of my classes, and it ends up I'm buddied up with the same woman for both my classes. She's a real sweetheart, Christian, and you know, we were role-playing on conversations with our clients on intakes and different things, and she says, she just boldly and bluntly asked me, and I did not hesitate on my answer, because my presentation was Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday, I was so out of sorts. I just felt so out of whack, like the enemy was just trying to chip away at me, at my worth, at what I'm doing. He was trying to make me question things, but it's like, I don't have to question those things. Those are solid non-negotiables. So my peer asked me, if somebody comes to you and they ask you to remove your faith from my time with them as a client, would I do that? And I was just like instantaneous, out of my mouth, no way. I don't ever want to push anybody away, but this was the honest truth of where I work out of and the place I live out of. And that is that I always pray that I plant seeds in people and help them to understand where I'm at and the value of where I'm at, because I know firsthand that balancing spiritually, mentally, emotionally, to receive a physical healing is so vital. And if I don't teach that, they'll never get there. And people may get there on their own, don't get me wrong. But it's a rough road, it's a long road, and my purpose of my practice was to meet people and hold their hand and be for them what I didn't have, and to get them to where I am now a lot sooner than it took me, because it can be done so much sooner. But I didn't have the knowledge while I was going through my own healing journey. It took me over 8 years to get to a good, healthy place. And it's important to have that. So when she asked me that, I'm like, no way. I will never remove my faith from my faith-led healing practice. Absolutely not. And it's not out of ignorance. It's not that I don't want to meet that client where they're at. It's not that I don't want to help them. But I also feel that if they're not in that place, they're not in a good place to help themselves either, because they have to be willing to see what they need to do to find full healing. And that was my turning point last week, and it falls right in line with exactly what Vicky's daughter-in-law just said. How often do we pray the armor of God over us and our family in a day? I was in tune. I was aware of what was happening last week. I knew the enemy was attacking me, but I didn't understand what he was trying to accomplish, because for me, those, like I said, those things are non-negotiable, but that's where he was heading me. He was trying to make me question. And I don't work like other people do. It's not about numbers for me. It's not about, I don't ever want to offend anybody intentionally. But it's not about all of those things. It's not about my analytics. It's not about my numbers. It's not about being where somebody else that I'm influencing with is at. If they're up the ladder higher than I am, I'm going to be praising them. I'm not going to be wishing I was there. I'm going to just keep striving in my pace to get where God is taking me, not where they are. So all of those things play a role in all of this. And again, you hear me say all the time about comparison. The enemy wants us comparing. And, when my peer mentioned that, because we've been also doing live classes, and, we were asked to present ourselves as we would with a client. And I'm in a professional environment, and I do things very differently. I do things very, very differently. I'm not about, again, numbers. I'm not about dollars. I'm about where God is placing me to serve and help people. And yes, of course, I need the money and the finances to be able to do what I'm doing and to provide for my family. But that's not my first goal. And, I realized that the enemy was trying to keep me from being my authentic self. I mean, it was just boom, 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 all week long, same stuff. Presentation Monday, class Tuesday, critiquing Tuesday because of how I do things. And, I have thick skin, and I'm really grateful. I didn't always. But I want to be the best version of myself. And I do not ever take lightly when someone has enough courage to come to me and share that they think I could do something different, or that, that I need to change something. I'm never offended by that. I always take that very heavily and just pay attention to what people are saying. And then, of course, I take it to God, because ultimately He is the one that I am wanting to please. Not the world, not people, but, I want to be the best version of myself. So it was just really crazy. And that all plays a role in this, because you guys are under attack too. Many of you are sitting there and hear this little voice in your head telling you that you're not worth anything, or that you're not enough, or that what you're doing is not enough. It's no different than what he was trying to do to me last week. And the bolder we are in our faith and the stronger we are with our relationship with Christ, the more the enemy is going to attack. I'm a threat to him. What I'm doing with you right now makes me an extreme threat to him. And I don't care. I live life out of a very different mindset, and out of very different terms than the rest of the world. And last week really reminded me how different I am. And of course, my husband would, of course, chime in and say, oh, she's different, all right. He has a great time doing that. He has a really great time doing that. And oftentimes, you know, he's right. It's okay. I'm good with that. So Miss Vicky says, I'm so proud of your stand. You're true to yourself. And, you know, thank you. I give him all the glory. And we need to be. You know, how easy is it for us to be tripped up by what people say or what people think? You know, I struggled with that my whole life. I'm finally in a place now where I don't give a rat's behind what other people think. I just don't care. I beat to my own drum, and that's because I'm following him, and I'm not worried about that stuff because I know that I am different. I feel that I am different, and I want to be different. We're called to be peculiar. I take that role very seriously. Miss Vicky says it's part of your story to address the spiritual as well. It really is, because, you know, that was the foundation of my healing. That was my season on the couch. And it was the best season of my life. God took me to such amazing places on that couch. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. He grew me. He helped me to unload. He helped me to unload, you know, worrying what other people thought. He helped me to unload toxic people. He helped me to find my self-worth. He helped me to be able to look in the mirror and love who I saw. I didn't. I really, really didn't. And until we love ourselves and we find our self-worth, the enemy's going to have a foothold all the time. All the time. And even me, as strong as I am in my faith and as strong as I am, he still tried deliberately and very, very, very hard last week was he trying to get me. And you know what I did as soon as I felt that offness is I messaged these two ladies, my holy grounders, my community. I'm like, I need prayer. I am under attack, and I know I'm under attack. And, you know, recruiting our prayer warriors is vital. We can armor up, and that is what we are called to do. I encourage you all to read Ephesians 6 every day and pray that over your families. I tell you, and I know I've told you before, I get up, my eyes open, enemy, get out of my house, get out of my head, get out of my body, get out of my family, leave my land in the name of Jesus Christ and don't return. And then, Papa, fill me up. Give me wisdom, knowledge, direction, and discernment for my day. As you can see, it is, I know it. I repeat it every day, and I repeat it sometimes multiple times a day when he's really attacking me. But we have that power, and, you know, we neglect to realize the power we have in the Word of God, as well as the power we have within ourselves, it's the Spirit, to combat these things and to keep ourselves in a good headspace and to not allow the enemy to steal our joy. He's a stinking thief, and he needs to leave. And, you know, he tried really hard last week. I was definitely in a weird headspace. I was definitely feeling his, you know, attempts to get in there, and I kept combating it. And, you know, that takes energy sometimes, you know. When he's really fighting, it takes energy. I was swinging my sword all day long. But you know what? On the flip side of that, I progressed to an even greater spot. What he tried to do for evil, God did for the glory and the good. Because now I'm even planting my feet deeper in all of it. Because my presentation this week, you know, he could try to do so many things. I'm working with some amazing colleagues that have just incredible stories, incredible knowledge. They've been doing this so much longer than I have. And you know what? I could be intimidated and fearful and feel unworthy. Heck no. I'm on their tails of their feet, learning as much as I can from them. You know, I'm stalking them. Let's just be real. I'm stalking them for all their knowledge. You know, I was trying to find the right words, but the truth is, so, Miss Vicky says, I told her to pray the armor when you wake up and throughout the day as situations arise, according to Ephesians 6:17. Absolutely. And you know what? The enemy is always lingering. He is, I really believe that. I don't want to give him more power or more credit than due. But he is here to steal and to kill and destroy. And if you are a threat, I feel he's lingering. He's lingering, just waiting for you to screw up, just waiting for you to weaken. We're human beings and we grow tired. But you know what? If we are taking that time when we grow tired to meditate and to pray and to pull into God, we're just strengthening our resolve and eliminating his footholds. So that's exactly what I do. Last week when I was tired and when I was feeling it, I got in my compression swing and I was just meditating and praying and nurturing my body, self-care, taking care of myself. That's what we need to do. And the more we strengthen ourselves, the less opportunity he has to get in. So Vicky says, yes, you're 1 in a million and you are definitely a threat to the enemy, Satan. I love you, girl. I love you, girl. Thank you. I don't feel worthy of such things because I'm just chasing him and doing what he's calling me to do. But I appreciate your words and I love you dearly. And she says, keep at it. And you know what? There is power in being surrounded by the right people. Mr. David from Kenya, who is part of my team behind the scenes and part of my team in the community that is very present, says that my team is Aaron and Hur holding up my arms and I am Moses. And that's quite the visual, and that has really strengthened me in those moments like last week and in these moments like today. I didn't even know what I was going to teach on. I shared that, but God guides and leads, and it is through words like Vicky's that I'm not prideful, that I'm humble, and that my resolve and my armor is put in place, and it keeps me fighting forward. It keeps me moving forward and having the strength and the courage to keep speaking the truths and speaking out of where I am operating out of, how I live, how I work. It all stems with my feet planted in him. And I'm only human. I do weaken. And when I do, I don't hesitate asking for prayer, and I don't hesitate pulling into God. Miss Laura says, I totally agree. Keep on keeping on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Vicky says, we live for an audience of one. Absolutely. Absolutely. I serve him. He is the one I am wanting to please. And when we focus on that, it makes it so much easier. Up until last week, I really haven't even questioned my worth, my abilities, where I'm at compared to my peers in my class, to those I'm working with. But I was swarmed by it last week because all of a sudden I'm in classes where I'm no longer independently working by myself, which I tend to like best. I just do. I'm not your typical woman who loves being out there shopping and surrounded by a crowd. I like being surrounded by my people, but I'm not out there looking for that big crowd, that big party. So now I'm in that big crowd. And, it makes things a little different, but it shouldn't make anything any different in the realm of how I operate. And the enemy was trying to pull that into that center of that scenario. And no, I'm not changing. I'm not changing that for anybody, including the professionals that I work with, because I might offend one of them. This is how you want to see how I speak to my clients? This is how I speak to my clients. Boom. Good morning. It is so good to see you. Before we do anything else, let's pray. Bam. That's what I do. And you know what? When I am called to do that in class, bam, that's exactly what I'm going to do. They might all feel uncomfortable. They might all feel a little weird. They might not do it themselves. It may not be professional in their eyes. But that's how I serve my clients. That's how I serve my clients. So be true to yourself. Be true to what you're called to do. Do not let the enemy get a foothold. Do not let him make you question you being peculiar and your difference from the world, because If you're walking it out and God's leading you, there's a purpose in it. And I know there's a purpose in how he is asking me to do things. And I'm not changing that for anybody. For anybody. Miss Vicky says, my favorite phrase you use is to the enemy to go pound sand. I know. The more visual we put into our practice and the more physical we put into our practice, the more our brain responds. There is science behind that. It's called neuroplasticity, and that's how we retrain our brains. And when we retrain our brains in this scenario, our subconscious starts doing this and we don't have to. It gets to a place where our subconscious takes over. And that is a very powerful place that we can be armored up and swinging our swords at other things, and our subconscious is paying attention to the enemy's attacks and and removing him for us. Now, does that surface sometimes? Yes, because he's really trying hard to get me. So maybe my subconscious was a little overloaded last week. So I needed to start swinging my sword a little bit harder. And that's basically, that's a really good visual and scenario to think about. When he's starting to work hard and he has a purpose to trip us up, that's exactly what it felt like. Like I was just getting a little weightier, and like I wasn't quite picking up why I was feeling that way at first, but it was because the enemy was making my subconscious work extra hard, and now I needed to like combat and turn around and start fighting myself. And that's okay. I will fight the enemy. I am not a fighter otherwise, but I will fight the enemy, and I will fight him attacking myself, my family, my friends, my community. Absolutely, with pleasure. Absolutely. So Miss Laura says, I remind myself to laugh when the enemy has to go decades into the past to find things to try and convict me of. I must be doing something right or evil wouldn't bother me. And you know what? That is another great neuroplasticity trick. And it is a great place when you get there and you start realizing what he's doing, and you can laugh at it because you're like, dude, I've been over that for a long time. You're really funny. Really, go pound sand. Exactly. And that's the reality, is that this is also a really good growth moment, is that that you've progressed to a new place, because it does not give you anxiety anymore. For example, I'd have somebody that would text message me, and it would be like my whole body would just like tighten up. And it's like I got to the place where I would see them text message me and I'd just be like, that's progress. That's us being able to overcome feelings of anxiety, depression, all of those things that go along with past traumatic experiences or traumatic people in our lives. So it's pretty awesome. And that was really a transitional point for me in my growth, was being able to get to that place of laughter. And I've shared it before with you guys when I read the book Wronged by Erwin Lutzer, that in the first time round reading that book, and I don't often read books multiple times, but I was led to read that book 3 times, which is interesting in and of itself. And the first time I got angry and really riled up on some of the subjects of overcoming what I had experienced and the people and their traits that it explained. And then as I read it the second time, I noticed that I was no longer in that mode during that chapter. And I was like, ooh, that's growth. That's awesome. And same for the third. Going through the third, it was like, okay, I've got all these skills knacked, and there's not a single one of them that has me riled up anymore. So that in and of itself is progression. And what Laura is describing is progression. It's our growth, and that's huge. We got to celebrate that stuff right there. That's a huge celebration. That's a huge celebration, because many of us have been, we've had to go through traumatic things. And, that will be an upcoming course and book that I am working on right now, and that is how to overcome what we've had to walk through. And, we've all had to walk through stuff that hasn't been pleasant, that has been hard, that has affected us, that has maybe bound us, for lack of better terms. And to be able to progress through those things and walk to the other side. And of course, that doesn't happen on our own. That's with God, and the growth that we find, that's God. You know, he is taking us to new levels and healing us. And it's so amazing. And it all starts with this whole conversation of armoring up, protecting ourselves, pulling into God, and not allowing our worth and who we are called to be under attack, to owning it, planting our feet in it, and protecting it. That's so important, so important. So Vicky says, yes, be true to yourself and don't let the enemy get a foothold. Absolutely. The more we can do that and realize where he, you know, like Laura said, you know, there are moments that he tries to pull things from the past because he's desperate. And then it's like, you loser, that's not working, you know? And yes, us Christians, we can say such words. It's true, especially when it comes to Satan. I will call him a loser. I will call him all kinds of good Christian cuss words. So, because I don't like him. He's the only thing I don't like. But you know what? I feel sad for him because he's continuously attempting to do something that God's already won. And that's you. So remember that. God's already won you. Do you allow that to sink in? Allow that to sink in. So be proud of who you are. Be proud of whose you are. YouTube, I am going to jump off of here today. It was really good visiting with you guys. Join us next Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you haven't gotten in our community, do so. faithledhealing.com/community. And just so you're aware, the Faith-Led Living and the Faith-Led Healing are joined. We do everything out of one space, and we teach on everything: life, health, living, God, all of it. So if you enjoy this, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends. Also, if you listen to my podcast, I'm just going to put a little plug out there. If you enjoy it, please review it. The more reviews I have, the higher up I go in visibility, and that helps me reach more people. And that is my goal this year, is to reach as many people as I can, not for myself, but for him. So thank you guys for joining me. I love you all. See you guys next week. God bless.